Certainly one needs a retreat from the daily task of working with people. On the mission, however, my free time is only free in theory. In practice, it is free from my everyday work with people in church or in the office, but it is filled with some form of manual labor, be it carpentry, welding or gardening.
Czy to będzie w warsztacie ślusarskim, czy w obróbce drzewa, czy nieco w ogrodzie również.
Naturally, it relaxes from a psychological standpoint, but on the other hand, it is specific work. Strictly speaking, I have very little free time. Let me say that it is a steady march from one holiday to another, with no rest in between. One of the most difficult aspects of missionary work is coming to terms with your own inabilities and with the fact that many things must wait completion. You do what you can day to day, and the rest will someday be completed. But this remainder will only gradually be completed after our death. Without a vehicle, working here would be impossible because our job requires coordinating groups of laity in the field. There are 2 priests in a parish numbering 50,000 spread over mountainous terrain. You have to travel by vehicle. You could walk from time to time, but this would mean that I reach a place like this not once during the week, but once in 2-3 months, and the rest concentrates around the parish headquarters. At the moment, we own this small pickup. The odometer reads almost 144,200 kilometres. A considerable amount of that was travelled on these bumpy roads. So you can imagine that in a year's time, it will start falling apart. And then we will have to find another vehicle.
Z tego tutaj wzgórza możemy dosyć ładnie zobaczyć znaczną część parafii.
From this hilltop, we can almost see the entire parish. The size in kilometres would be 15 by 20, but you have to calculate differently because we are in the mountains. Boundary of the parish reaches this stretch of lake, which enters this chain of hills, and looking from there, that entire land belongs to our parish. These islands that you see, they also belong to our parish. There are a few Catholic families who live on the far island. However, on the other island, there are a few families present, but none are Catholic. During the rainy season, it is impossible to reach this place by car. Then you either walk or ride a bicycle. There are similar stretches of land alongside the volcano, where it is difficult or at times impossible for a vehicle to cross. Northern Rwanda was engulfed with fighting until 1999. A specifically bloody time was 1998, when these high mountains were under the control of partisans. During that time, the loss of lives was enormous. It usually happens during the night when you would only hear the artillery, the screams and the movement of people. All war is unjust, and never do you have on one side innocent lambs and on the other ravenous wolves. The loss these people felt during that time is substantial. There is a large percentage of widows and orphans here. People were taken from our parish as well as the neighbouring parish. It is unpleasant to recall those days. We can but rejoice that they have passed. There were priests killed at the time, yes. This is the second of our big schools. For a long time, renovation here was impossible, as was reaching this place because of the fighting. At the moment, we have received funds from the Polish embassy, which will aid us in the renovations of half of the school. That is 4 to 5 classes. We received an additional 2,000 euros from Germany, and the rest we have to find elsewhere. When we finish the first phase, we will look for money to complete the second phase. Our schools and churches are in a bad shape. From 1999 until 2000, many of the areas right along the border or close to the volcano could not be reached because of security. That is why we could finally hit the ground running after the year 2000. Many of the schools are in shambles. We do what we can to fix them up or simply raise new buildings altogether. The same applies to our churches. The faithful often find themselves in buildings constructed of poles stuck into the ground. The walls are made from mud bricks and the roof from scrap metal. If you cheat a white man here, it is not a sin but a credit if you can get away with it. For example, to build one classroom modestly but solidly, we spend about 3,000 euros. But a local contractor here will charge at least 5,000 to 6,000. The great majority of these local contractors try to charge as much as possible, getting the most profit from a construction. They will add, let's say, the correct amount of sand and water, but not the cement. The consequences are piteous. The fact that the roof can crash in on these kids or on the people in church does not trouble them at all. It is only vital that the time of completion be met, the guaranteed time pass, but what happens after that is not important to them. It is a given that the white man is wealthy. Worst case scenario, he will build again. The help that we receive for these constructions is insufficient. Very seldom do we receive the amount that we ask for, and this is the entire problem, to build something inexpensively and at the same time solidly. This is the 6th grade. They are copying what is on the blackboard. Then their lesson will continue.
Zapisanie z tego z tablicy, spisanie do zeszytu, a później będzie lekcja kontynuowana.
We have 9 grades here. Before there were only 4, and all this was open and in ruins. This is a simple construction. This part's for the boys. Here you have 6 spaces like this and 6 on the other side, so that is 12.
Tu jest 6 miejsc, czyli 12 będzie w obydwu. Jeszcze później będziemy myśleć o wybudowaniu drugiej klatry.
Later we will think of building another with 12 spaces. Over there you can see the old latrine, which was for 1,500 kids. We budgeted for 2 elements here, the building of the school and simultaneously a sanitary facility. You know, if you walk out of the classroom and with every other step you are in poop, it is not pleasant. Not to mention that the smell is gross and the hygiene altogether absent. One meter and 52 centimeters. You are as tall as a giraffe.
Tutaj mamy
We handle a large portion of charitable work here. This creates many duties, starting with the purchase of food, essentials and so on, and ending with organizing distribution. We built this warehouse for this very purpose.
Wybudowaliśmy tutaj w parafii magazyn, który temu służy.
There are several months before the harvest when this food stock is very helpful. It is important to have ready a certain amount, at least 10 to 20 tons. We buy it in time because later the price goes up by 3 to 4 times. So in order not to waste the aid which arrives from Europe for this very purpose, we have to buy relatively early on. Besides, this can assist our various Catholic communities in renovating the church or other needs. They can buy these beans or corn or other foodstuffs for a good price, stock it somewhere, and later sell it with profit. This way we teach people not only to beg and plead for the help which itself is marginal, simultaneously developing in them an instinct of thrift and a responsibility for the church from a financial standpoint.
A jednocześnie, żeby wyrobić w nich ten instynkt gospodarności i odpowiedzialności za Kościół, również od strony finansowej.
Life at the mission is not easy because you have to learn all sorts of crafts. A man like Father Krzysztof has it tough because he is responsible for the entire parish. He is the director of all the schools in the parish. He doesn't have as much free time as he would like for fun in the shop or with woodworking. We have been raised up differently in Europe. Why? What has taught us our way of thinking? Our parents, school, they all have. But I think it's because in Europe we live according to the seasons, the 4 seasons. Here in Africa and in Rwanda, people live only according to 2 seasons, the dry season and the rainy season. Our brothers and sisters here have not learned really to plan ahead because they live day to day.
Within our parish borders there live over 115,000 people, of which 50,000 are Catholic. Of course, there is administrative work and spiritual work, but at the core is the animation and coordination of groups of laity who are spread throughout the parish. The entire parish is divided into branches or centres, which in turn are divided into sub-centres. At each of these centres and sub-centres, we have people responsible for Caritas, the liturgy and schooling. So, we have this rather extended tree of lay responsibilities, and my job, which requires meeting with them and setting various agendas. 3 times a year, the entire parish council gathers. That is about 200 people. However, the parish committee meets regularly every month. We still have some difficulty with completing certain matters if our crew is small. Currently, I am here with one other priest. I can say honestly, we can at best put a patch over a problem. We do what we can, but some things are left for tomorrow, or the day after, or simply, amen, forgotten. You can see here, this is a typical Christian card. Everyone has this identity card. It contains the diocese, parish, name, parents, godparents, as well as a list of the sacraments administered: baptism, confirmation, Holy Eucharist, marriage rites, with whom. It's a very practical idea. We can quickly reference this card when someone comes to the office.
Tu mamy 1410.
There have been 1,410 baptisms this year. 867 of those are children between 1 and 7 years of age. The small percentage of newborns is due to a high rate of child mortality, as well as the fact that many couples wait to see if the child will survive the first year or not. We get about 1,000 new parishioners every year, despite the number who leave the church for another faith. As far as marriages, among our 50,000, we had about 400 marriages last year. In this area, as part of the marriage preparation, the groom has to pay a dowry equal to 1 cow to the bride's family. In addition, he also has to build a home for the couple to live in.
Jest młody pan zobowiązany uiścić. Poza tym jeszcze jest on zobowiązany do wybudowania domu.
This branch has saved up enough money to install a speaker system and some more lights. This centre has 18,000 people. It is the largest centre in the parish. During both Sunday services, the church is filled to the brim. In the future, this will certainly become a separate parish. At the moment, we lack the infrastructure here, and mainly the personnel. We keep stressing independence here. We want them to be able to take care of themselves and not only await help from the outside. We motivate them to support themselves, and they certainly have strength in numbers.
Co się przyjęło w Rwandzie dosyć dobrze? Kult miłosierdzia Bożego.
Here in Rwanda, people have really taken to praying for divine mercy. We have a group that meets here every Sunday to pray.
W tym kościele, jak również w kościele parafialnym. W sytuacji
After the war and at times of crisis, we all have come to the conclusion that perhaps only a miracle can save this country from another conflict or even massacre.
W jakiś sposób jedynie cud może tutaj uratować ten kraj, żeby nie było jakiegoś kolejnego konfliktu czy masakru. Miejsce, w którym jesteśmy, nie jest jakimś barakiem, czy też bym powiedział magazynem.
The place we are currently isn't some kind of barracks or warehouse, but it is our chapel. It is one of 19 chapels spread throughout the parish.
Została ona zbudowana przez tutejszych wiernych
It
katolików.
was built by the local faithful who have employed, as you can see, locally available materials such as clay, wood, vines. They did their best. When we have Mass here from time to time on Sunday, or we come here with the Holy Sacrament, this little chapel packs nearly 1,500 people. Especially during the rainy season, it can get really crowded. At least the rain won't fall on your head, because before there was nothing here. We have raised the foundations for a future church, but currently, however, we don't have the funds to complete the project. To build such a church, for it to serve the people properly, you need about $25,000 to $30,000. That's a large sum of money. The toilets over there were built beautifully, but the stairs were a later addition. Our parishioners came and said they would like to finish the stairs, but they only need 10 bags of cement. They gathered the sand and all necessary materials. When I arrived, I saw that instead of building 2 staircases, one on either end, they had built a grand staircase like at some amphitheatre. Sometimes, after a wedding, couples gather to have their picture taken here. You have the volcano in the background, and in the foreground, the best-looking little lighthouse in the area. I sometimes compare my missionary church experience with that of Europe. Here it's this boiling cauldron where the soup is just spilling over, the lid is falling off, bubbles steam everywhere, and you have to be careful that you don't burn yourself. And in Europe, it's this delicious dessert. It's perfect, tasty, but it is cold. The people here are great believers. Besides people who have come from the United States or Europe, I haven't met any atheists in Rwanda. Therefore, the people are deeply rooted in faith. Of course, they mix it with superstition and with traditional beliefs. That is another problem. But to find a person here who doesn't believe at all, who is an atheist, is like finding, the locals say, someone mentally ill, not to insult the people in Europe or the USA. And with this background, the spiritual needs are vast here. The introduction of Christianity does not happen during one generation. To change people's mentality requires time. So, for me, it is natural for traditional beliefs to function next to the Christian religion. In 1965, our parish, together with neighbouring Gaunga parish, numbered 6,000 members. At the moment, despite the war, we have 66,000. That's a tenfold increase. Nevertheless, we are in a foreign environment, although it does gradually become our own. On the other hand, when we return to our old environment, to our homeland, for a visit, we realize that we have changed. We see the local church as warm and nice. When I sometimes give Mass in Poland, it's as if someone put me in a refrigerator. Then you have this urge to come back here quickly, despite the many everyday problems which await you. One of my biggest wishes, although I know that during my lifetime it won't come true, is for the mentality of the people here to gradually develop a sense of responsibility for one's own life and for sin and virtue, a feeling of personal sin. That it wasn't the devil or the witch doctor, or that it wasn't bad luck, but that I am the one who creates my life. And I think that only then, when this new mentality arrives in Rwanda, will Christianity really take root. The underlying difficulty here is providing these children and young people a start in life. 90% of the parish population is unemployed, only 10% have a small parcel of land that can support a family. These people struggle in finding a means of living, getting an education, finding employment. I believe it is in this area we should put our strongest effort. There are scores of talented young people that need our help. We had a project in the works at the parish to build a secondary technical school. We even drew up the topographical and architectural plans, but as a result of our sponsors pulling aid out of Rwanda, the project never broke ground. For an African or a Rwandan, evil very often comes from the outside. It doesn't come from the heart, it does not arise from within, but depends on some outside force. Therefore, it is difficult for the people here to claim responsibility for their own deeds and for their own sins. This remains the basic clash between traditional practice and what Christianity has to offer. If someone commits adultery, they will say that it wasn't me, but that I was tempted by the devil. To that I say, why did you let the devil enter and do this thing? This is the whole problem. If someone becomes sick, they first go to the witch doctor and ask, Who did this to me? Because it surely isn't my fault that I drank some dirty water. Someone has cast a spell on me, and I must find them and take revenge. And this is the most difficult thing to evangelize.
Będąc na misjach ostatniej parafii w Rwandzie,
Being here on the outermost mission in Rwanda, one must get used to the satisfaction of small victories. That is why, in order to aid my optimism, I have never considered some grandiose dream. I'd like to wish myself perseverance and patience, which in many cases are lacking, and always peace.
czego sądzę można się uczyć od Kościoła?
What we all can learn from the mission is commitment, the everyday task of being Christian, and also that being a Christian does not come free.
Chrześcijaninem kosztuje i że trzeba się zgodzić na chrześcijaństwo, które ma ze sobą
We have to take part in a Christianity which rewards us with the resurrection, but prior to that is the cross.
chrześcijaninem w dobrym czasie.
In order to be a true Christian, you have to declare yourself. To speak the truth in a post-war country can often result in going to jail. In a situation where your faith is often attacked and ridiculed, you shouldn't back down and say, "I'm sorry for living," or "Sava, no problem."
Albo że Sawa, nie ma problemu.
Being a Christian has a price, but that is a beautiful thing.
Najistotniejsze w mojej wierze.
The most crucial to my faith, in my experience of God, is meeting with people. People who are so different from me in their language, skin color, mentality, upbringing. This meeting is very rewarding. It is then that you realize that you are not the Alpha and the Omega, but only the transmitter. The one who is sending the signal is Christ.